Today on Larry King Now, 6-time Sprint Cup Series champion Jimmie Johnson. What kind of driver are you off the track?
I feel I'm great. Now, if you ask my wife, she's going to say something far different.
On how he got his start in racing.
I grew up racing all types of dirt vehicles and thought that IndyCar would be my route. And with my involvement with Chevrolet, they pulled out of IndyCar as I was moving up through the ranks and said, look, if you want to have a career in motorsports, you need to move to North Carolina and think about NASCAR.
And on recent championship format changes.
I'm confident in my abilities and my team that regardless of how the champion is crowned, we'll work hard to be on top and get there.
Plus,
watching is far more difficult. And in the car, you put the helmet on, pull the belts tight, you feel like a warrior in there and you're going to be just fine.
All next on Larry King Now. We are here at the Auto Club Speedway Racetrack, Fontana, California, with the 6-time and defending NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, 2-time Daytona 500 winner, 66 career NASCAR Sprint Cup victories, the only driver to win 5 consecutive series crowns, and he was named Forbes' most influential athlete 2 years in a row, 2011, 2012, the incomparable Jimmie Johnson. Is there any victory in this 66-run career that you have a special feeling for?
Yes, there is. And we are at the track, and right there behind you at the start-finish line is where I took my first checkered flag back in 2002. And being
you won
my very first race, and being a California native, this is my home track. I grew up just down the road in San Diego, so this is the place.
Did you want to race early?
I did. I had a long career, and I got started in the Sprint Cup Series at 26, which was late. So there were a lot of years where I wondered if I was going to get my chance. And once I finally did, I knew I needed to win quickly. And fortunately, I won in my 10th start in my rookie season, and took a lot of pressure off of me so that I could go out there and do my job.
Were you confident then?
I felt better about things. I would say, honestly, after probably my 3rd championship is when I really felt confident in my abilities and my job.
Was starting late then better for you?
I think so. I do, and I look at young guys that are coming along, and I really give them a lot of credit for how they handle, the stardom, the money, the fame, and everything that comes with it. But a Joey Logano, a Kyle Busch, I'm not sure either one of those are at 26 now. So, and they've been in our sport for a long time.
You drive for what they call the Yankees of NASCAR, Hendricks Motorsports, along with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon. Do you feel that the image of that group has?
We hear that, and if you're a Yankees fan, you're proud of that label, and if you're not a Yankees fan, I'm sure it goes the other way. But I do drive for one of the biggest teams in the sport, and certainly the most successful team. And we just recently, as a group at Hendrick Motorsports, have met and surpassed some of the goals that Petty Enterprises had put in place years ago. So very, very neat opportunity to work for such a
Were there always teams?
Yeah, there always were.
Was never an individual sport?
I think my car owner, Rick Hendrick, started the multi-car team years back, and then it quickly moved to 3 teams and 4 teams, and NASCAR finally put a cap on things and said one owner can only have 4 teams to make it fair for the competition.
Jeff Gordon brought you in, right?
He did.
How did that happen?
He handpicked me. They were considering starting a 4th team at Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff saw me driving a few times. I raced against him, and that was the way I left my impression with him. But also with Rick Hendrick, Jeff's business partner, his son Ricky Hendrick was a very close friend of mine, and I didn't realize that Ricky behind the scenes was helping his father pay attention to me, and then also some help from GM and Chevrolet to Rick Hendrick kind of pave the road.
So we interviewed Jeff, and he said it was all just racetrack competition. But you've had your controversy over the years with him, have you not?
We've had some different run-ins on the track, for sure. And, when you're in the sport long enough, you're going to have it with everyone out there. And it's more difficult when it's a teammate and certainly a friend. But I think our friendship and the respect we have for one another has carried us through it. And
was the controversy over things that happen in a race?
Yeah, racing-related things. And Jeff Gordon's been the man. I wanted to take him down, and that's... that certainly was kind of the root of what went on.
Do rivalries run a long time, or can you able to put it away after a race?
I'm pretty good at putting it away. There are other guys that certainly carry that far longer.
In January, NASCAR announced a new championship format. There was some speculation it was to keep you from winning another title. Do you believe that?
I don't. I'm confident in my abilities and my team, that regardless of how the champion is crowned, or even on the technical side, the rules packages that are put in place for our cars, that we'll work hard to be on top and get there.
So you don't think there's any vendetta against Jimmie Johnson?
No. Our sport is trying to change with the times. Everything is changing, and it's hard to keep somebody's interest for. We race 39 times in 41 weeks, and then our races are 4 hours, minimum 4 hours in length. So to keep a fan engaged that long is a tough task. And
is that why ratings are down a little, do you think?
I think it's part of it. And then, our venues are currently updating to be like football stadiums now and have all the amenities that exist. And then the economy we can't ignore. That's certainly been tough on everybody.
Do you, Jimmie Johnson, feel you are the best in this sport?
At times, I do have that swagger and confidence. At the end of last year, I certainly felt that way. We've been off to a decent start this year, so I feel like I'm probably one of the top 5 guys right now.
Yeah, well, you should, because you are. NASCAR said they want to draw younger fans into the sport, and they've taken action with a big social media push. Do you think that'll work out?
I think it's part of it. I know I became a fan of racing coming to racetracks with my father, and it captured me when I was young. And I think any industry right now is trying to capture people younger and younger, because if you're introduced to something, if it's the arts, if it's racing, look at two extremes there. If you're introduced to it at a young age, you pay attention to it and you follow it. So I wish that we could be, our sport and industry could be inside curriculum books in schools, and we could capture kids at a young age. You think of the science and math that takes place on this racetrack. If we could build that into, our education, I think we could fix our young kid problem.
You don't hear that term, science and math, with NASCAR.
Oh, it's every bit of what we do out here. There's probably as many engineers on staff at our organization as there are mechanics that actually work on the cars.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
And then the tools we use to make the cars go fast, from wind tunnels. We have a machine that takes the track data and loads it into this 7-post rig. We put a race car on it, and it simulates on-track racing activity.
Are NASCAR drivers considered athletes? Jimmie will tell us his opinion next.
You guys are amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
The great former quarterback Donovan McNabb, who, by the way, is covering this race here this weekend for Fox, he said he didn't consider NASCAR drivers athletes. He called them skilled, but not athletes. How do you respond?
I'm looking forward to seeing him this weekend, and hopefully we can help change his mind. And unfortunately, it's something our sport's dealt with for a long time.
Why is it athlete to you? Why is it athletics? To me, it's athletics because you're thinking while moving. You're making decisions.
Absolutely.
In danger. What else could it be?
The hand-eye coordination to control the vehicle, and then also the cardio and physical load put on us in the car. I agree that we're not like a soccer player and propelling ourselves for hours on end out there. I get that aspect, but our sport is very athletic.
But you do practice, you have to stay in shape, don't you? You have to be in shape?
I compete in triathlons and marathons to stay in shape to do my job out there.
I can't be a fat, overweight race car driver, can you? Are there any?
There are some that are on the larger side. There's
Really?
no doubt about it. And if you look on any roster, baseball, football, whatever it is, there's always the guy that's carrying a little more weight and is first one to leave the gym and not sticking around, and we have those here too.
The best way to challenge Donovan would be to put him in a car. Do a little run around the track with him.
I would love to. We're working on those opportunities.
Your teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the Daytona 500.
Yes.
Why is he so popular?
Well, I mean, he's
Because of his
family.
father?
Absolutely, his father.
But he's a great guy, too, isn't he?
He is, and truthfully, if Junior didn't have the success in 2000, in really 99 or probably 2002, 3, when his father was tragically killed, people wouldn't have seen the dynamic between Dale Sr. and Dale Jr. And that was great television. You watch, the intimidator that never had a soft side root for his son, come to victory lane, cheer his boy along. And I think that is what really created the fan base. Dale has other children and another son that's raced, and his son Kerry doesn't have that same following behind him.
Doesn't have the same name.
Well, it doesn't have, true, the same name, but he's been on the track. But I think what played out and made Junior so popular was the dynamic between father and son, and people could see that real emotion between those two.
Now, you got a great team. Mm-hmm. When you don't win and a teammate wins, you're not crazy happy because you didn't win, but you must be happy.
For sure. Happy, and then at the same time, if somebody beats you consistently, you think, we've got the same stuff, what are we doing wrong? So it's also a wake-up call and a reminder that you're not doing the best job you can with your stuff.
Kendrick doesn't care who wins, does he?
No. No, we have our 4 cars with Hendrick Motorsports, and we also provide equipment for some other teams out there. So the Stewart Haas Racing Organization also has our equipment.
Was there a little misunderstanding at the Daytona 500 that people thought you won? What was that?
So our 2014 race starts, then we have a rain delay, and during the rain delay, Fox goes to the 2013 race and plays it on air. People weren't paying too close of attention. I won the 2013 race, so they see the finish of the 2013 race. I'm getting text messages, emails.
They didn't flash it enough on screen.
No,
right?
and even major news outlets weren't paying close enough
winner.
attention and said that I was the winner. So we had a good laugh out of that.
What does it do to you when you have that long rain delay? I know it's tough in any sport. Baseball has the other sport that has a rain delay. Golf has a rain delay. What is it like? Does it disturb? Does it throw you off track?
Absolutely. It really throws you off track. And then the other thing it does is it just gives you an opportunity to eat way too much. And that's all we do, it seems like. Is sit around and wait and eat
Drink
and eat.
beer? You don't drink beer when you ride.
No.
I noticed before, having attended back at Daytona a couple weeks ago, the drivers all get together, told the rules of that track,
Right.
and then have a prayer. I guess in that sport, you have to pray, right?
It's up to each individual, but there certainly is a big community feel around our sport. Yep.
What kind of driver are you off the track?
I feel I'm great. Now, if you ask my wife, she's going to say something far different.
What kind of car do you drive?
My everyday driver is an old 1949 step-side pickup truck that's been fixed up and resto-mod.
Why?
I go fast everywhere else, and I'm always in such a hurry that when I get home and have a chance to, be at home, I just want to slow down and
So when you're driving that truck, you don't want to go 80?
No, you don't want to go 80 in that thing.
Jimmie Johnson on a motorcycle, right after this. Your grandparents owned a motorcycle shop, right?
They did.
Did you ever consider motorcycle racing?
I did, yes. Growing up in Southern California, motocross was and still is very, very big, and all of my heroes were motocross guys. And living on the West Coast, IndyCar was popular, but NASCAR just wasn't. So I grew up racing all types of dirt vehicles and thought that IndyCar would be my route. And with my involvement with Chevrolet, they pulled out of IndyCar as I was moving up through the ranks and said, look, if you want to have a career in motorsports, you need to move to North Carolina and think about NASCAR. So it wasn't long after that, I bought a one-way ticket. Like a lot of actors flocked to LA, I went the other direction and moved to North Carolina.
You live there now?
I do.
Same place as Jeff? Charlotte?
Yes, I'd say 85% of our industry is based in the Charlotte area.
Would you have been a good Indy driver?
I don't know. I think that my dirt background and the way the vehicles slide and drift around really suit a stock car. Indy cars drive much more, kind of locked down and stuck to the road. So I really think I ended up in the right vehicle.
Motorcycle more dangerous than stock car?
Absolutely.
Has to be.
You hit the ground a lot on those dirt bikes.
Do you ever motorcycle ride now?
I had a bike for a while, and then Mr. Hendrick stopped by my house to visit and saw the bike parked in my garage and quickly asked me to get rid of it. Yeah. Yes.
In fact, in baseball contracts, you're not allowed to drive a motorcycle.
Makes sense.
You race 41 weeks a year. Are you up for every race?
I am.
You really are?
Yes, and I think that at some point I won't be up for it, and it's going to wear on me and drag me down, and that's when it's time to walk away. That's the reward. There's a lot of work that goes on Monday through Saturday. The reward for all of that is the fact that I get to go out on that racetrack and have a blast.
Do you have fear?
Of course. Fear makes me let off at the end of the straightaway and tap the brake a little bit for the turn.
Great jockey Eddie Arcaro told me that after he quit riding and he would look at film, he wondered, how the hell did I ever do that? Like with 6 horses there, and you take the inside, and they're all pressing in, the horses could throw you in a minute. Do you have that moment where you, not for a better word, don't take that move? Where you used to take it, now you've won all these championships, got a lot of money, you don't make that move.
I haven't noticed it yet. I do know that watching is far more difficult, and I have 2 younger brothers that race. And I am so worried and nervous for them watching. I mean, more concerned watching than I ever am driving. So I think the outside element looking in is more difficult. And in the car, you put the helmet on, pull the belts tight, you feel like a warrior in there, and you're going to be just fine.
If you found yourself hesitating, would you think of quitting?
Absolutely. I feel that's when drivers get hurt. When you're defensively driving, that's when you're in harm's way.
When there are tragedies like Earnhardt or others, do you ever think of quitting?
You know, when Earnhardt was killed, there were 4 drivers that died within a 12-month period in that same period of time. And actually 3 of the guys I knew very, very well. One was my best friend, a guy named Blaze Alexander. And
where did he die?
He died at Charlotte, actually the very first start that I had in the Sprint Cup Series that weekend. And you know, I thought long and hard about things, but there was something pulling me back to my sport and pulled me into the race car. I had to run 2 events that weekend. And as much pain and hurt that I was dealing with, and also scared because I think Blaze was maybe the 4th guy killed. You know, what's going on here? Why are these drivers, you know, all of a sudden passing away? What's going on? So after Earnhardt's death, you know, our industry dug deep. All the manufacturers got involved, NASCAR got involved. We created the softer walls, a full containment seat, and then the Hans device, which controls the head motion in a frontal impact. And the basal skull fracture is the injury that was killing these drivers. And we've been able to correct that, stop that, and honestly take the threshold from knocking a driver unconscious and raising it 40 or 50 Gs, which is a massive number.
What was the most scared you ever were?
I've had 2 that were equally scary. Both times I had no idea what was going to happen, where I was going to go. One was in 2000, I lost my brakes at a road course event in Watkins Glen, New York. I went flying off the road and had no clue that where I was going to end up. And I saw a white wall in the process, and I assumed it was concrete. And to my surprise, it was a big foam wall that stopped me and saved me. And then the other race, I raced.
You thought you were going to hit concrete.
Yeah, when I saw the white in the concrete, I just kind of went limp in the car and thought that was it. And then the other one would have been in 1995. I was racing in the Baja 1000 in Mexico. And of all things, I kind of dozed off early morning hours and woke up and realized I was going way too fast, and there was a sharp right-hand turn in front of me. And went off the road, and I was up in the mountains along the coast, almost to La Paz, and went flying off in the darkness. Had no clue how far I was going to fall. And the moments before I hit the ground there, those were pretty frightening.
Remember those?
Oh, yes.
What was the most injured you ever were?
That all happened racing dirt bikes when I was young. So on my 8th birthday, I actually broke my left knee, pulled it apart, and then broke the tib and fib in a couple spots.
And that didn't stop you from going back?
No, kept racing till I was probably 14 on the dirt bikes.
In a sense, you guys are a little nuts, right? I mean, in the best sense.
Definitely. We're in that extreme sport category.
Yeah. What did the family think of it? What did your wife think of it?
You know, when we started dating, there was definitely a period of time that she didn't quite understand the sport, and I don't know, there still is obviously a lot of risk, but I took the time to show her the safety advancements in our industry and in our cars, and that helped her a lot. And I think now the biggest concerns we have are really on a local level. The major sporting event, the major racing series, have the soft walls, and it's mandated that we wear Hans devices, and we have very well-trained fire and safety personnel to get to the vehicles. It's the weekly night racing, and that's the stuff that I really stay away from. And I try to make sure that I race in the top tier divisions so that safety is, a premium.
Would you want your children to take this up?
I know what it's provided for me, and clearly it's provided a lot with the level I'm competing at. But even if I didn't make it to the cup level, this has been my passion in my life, and the happiness it's brought me. If my children want to pursue it, even though I have 2 daughters, I would definitely support them.
What do you think of Danica Patrick?
She's doing a great job, certainly learning her way through the ropes. Unfortunately, she has a spotlight on her that many drivers never, ever experience. And I know it took me 5 years to understand these tracks and cars before I had any success, and we need to give her that amount of time too.
We asked Jeff this question. He said sometimes it depends on the track. What's more important, the car or the driver?
I agree with Jeff. Depends on the track. At the end of the day, what really separates a team from another is the driver-crew chief communication. We're not allowed to have telemetry on the vehicles, so all the sensations that I feel in the car, I have to verbalize to my team and then let them know what areas are scaring me, slowing me down, and where we can find speed. So then I've got to, regurgitate all of that information out. They have to process it and then adjust the race car so I can go faster.
Do you know a lot about the mechanics?
I used to. I know enough now. I know the hot spots, but I can take something apart, but you don't want me to put it back together.
Okay, you know where the carburetor goes and all that.
Yes.
Jimmie answers your questions, and we play a game of If You Only Knew when we get back. What's the Jimmie Johnson Foundation?
We established ourselves in 2006 and worked on a lot of great projects over the years, but of late, we are focused on public education, K through 12, in the area where I grew up in Southern California, where my wife is from in Oklahoma, and then where we live in North Carolina.
We have some social media questions. Dear Dare fan, if you have any plans to run another 24-hour race?
At some point, I would love to, yes.
At Moneandalev, you thought of F1?
I'm way too old, but I'd love to have a shot at driving one of those cars.
Steve Bass wants to know how you stayed so humble and grounded throughout the career.
I think my parents started that process, and then the tough years getting to this point.
Michael, 2009-3012, what do you think of the new qualifying format?
A lot of fun, very good for our sport.
At Mr. T.X. Lee, why the number 48?
There's a process of selecting a number when a new team is put into NASCAR competition. They provided us a list of numbers that were available. We all had varying opinions on what that should be. And then I raised my hand and said, look, every time I won a championship in my younger years, I either had the number 4 or the number 8. And Jeff is a part owner in the car. His number's 24, so there was a little play on numbers there, and we selected the 48.
Oh, one more tweet. It's from a wise guy named Jimmie Johnson.
Uh-oh.
What happens when you need to use the bathroom? Are you asking that of me? Okay, or I'm asking that of you. Okay, for me, I stop the tape and go. When you're working live, you die.
Correct.
What happens to you?
Well, there's a very important window of time before the race where I stop with the fluids, and that helps me out. But I do know...
Have you ever had to go?
I haven't, knock on wood. I've made it 14 years of not having to go.
What do drivers do when they have to go?
They go.
In the car?
They do. And if you see a driver in victory lane with a bottle of water, before he climbs out, he's trying to dilute something.
Aha. Quick game, if you only knew. We got a little time. You remember the first girl you kissed?
Yes.
What was her name, Jimmie?
Oh, she lived 2 doors up the street from our house.
In California?
Yes, things were playing Spin the Bottle.
How old were you?
Gosh, middle school probably.
Spin the Bottle.
Yes.
First injury?
Boy, it came often, and I was early through the motocross years. I mean, my major one was 8 on my knee, but I know I had other little
Hero
broken
growing
bones.
up?
Rick Johnson, motocross racer.
Favorite car on the road today?
I love my old cars.
You do?
Yeah.
If you weren't a race car driver, what would you be?
A fireman.
Really?
Growing up in Southern California, fire season, everything that went on, I was definitely interested in being a fireman.
Train, bus, or bike?
Bike.
Is there a TV show you're embarrassed to say you watch?
Yeah, it's kids programming. I know.
SpongeBob?
Well, we're not there. We're keeping our daughter off SpongeBob right now, our oldest, but plenty of Dora and all the things you can find on Nick Jr.
And finally, time travel or space travel?
Time travel.
Thank you, Jimmie.
Thanks, sir.
Want to thank my guest, 6-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion, the great Jimmie Johnson. And you can find out more about the Jimmie Johnson Foundation at jimmiejohnsonfoundation.org. And remember, you can find me on Twitter at KingsThings. I'll see you next time.